through Congress to do stimulus packages. In fact, I think they'll have another one next January, probably for $2 trillion.
Well, Obama's already saying another banker bailout, which will be the one that sets up the new global New Deal, the new global bank. Oh, it's going to help you globally with U.S. taxpayer money. Bob, a few weeks ago, you said you were revising your forecast a bit from complete depression within 2.5 years to a year and a half. Are you like revising back to a more long-term till we're in a Mad Max scenario, or what are you getting at?
Well, we have depression already started, and we're having a slight hiatus in inflation in the United States. We're running around 9%. M3 is running around 11.5 to 12%, and down from where it was before. But as the TARP funds and other funds from stimulus hit the market, and the responsibility of Treasury to raise $2 trillion, which they'll have to monetize, that's going to begin hitting probably in April, maybe May, maybe March, and that's going to very quickly push inflation up. And that will extend. Inflation extends the end line for deflation. And so that's why you can't easily predict what's going on. But we're going to have an inflationary depression for a time. 2 years, maybe 3, maybe a year and a half. I don't know yet. But
all right, let's stop right there. Let's talk about the credit card bubble. The college bubble, people that have paid for these $100,000 college educations, they're getting out every year. They can't find jobs. They're accelerating offshoring of U.S. jobs, accelerating bringing in the skilled visas to replace jobs. Everybody I know in Austin that worked at IBM, degreed engineers, and I know 4 people, have all lost their jobs completely. They had to train their end-to-end replacements who were working for a third of it, and now they're gone. They're on the streets. You have all these state pension funds on the verge of bankruptcy or going into bankruptcy. You have all these unfunded mandates where they give you 20-30% of the money in the federal bailout, and then the state's going to come up with 70% more. A restaurant I hadn't been to in about a year that every time I went to it in the past was jam-packed and full on a Thursday night. There were one other group of people in there eating dinner. Restaurants, that have always been, really busy are, and Austin supposedly a good economy. I mean, this is already bad, what we're under. I mean, how bad are you saying it's going to get?
Oh, over 30% unemployment. Incidentally, IBM just is in the process of building a major complex south of Guadalajara in Mexico. And they intend to move everything out of the United States. And that's why the only answer to this problem of free trade, globalization, offshoring, and outsourcing, very simply, is tariffs. And if America does not have tariffs, we'll end up with 40 or 50% unemployment.
And for those that don't know,
there's no way we can compete.
And for those that don't know, China has a built-in tariff with their low currency and no environmental standards and slave wages. That is basically, in its overall economic effect, a huge tariff. So when we hear free trade, this is not free or fair trade, is it, Bob?
It certainly isn't. And it is just absolutely propaganda that's been misrepresented. And sadly, the only newsletter writer I know of who's talking outside the box, who pushes this so hard, the rest of them just don't get it.
Now, you got to watch them, though, Bob. They'll pass a tariff the day they finally tank the stock market down to nothing and say the tariff did it. You know the tricks they play.
Yep, that's what they did in the early 30s, and the depression was caused in that period of time by the Fed withdrawing money from the system. And then when they turned around and put it back into the system, it wouldn't do any good. And that's exactly what's happening today. And, they know that that's the way it works. So it was deliberate, just like it is now.
Well, Bob...
And that's why you're hearing what you just mentioned, Alex, about, we need a world government, we need a world currency, we need a world this, that, and the other thing. That's the justification for that.
Yeah, it's perfect plan. They globally create the crisis and say we need a global solution to a global crisis, and then the very people that engineered this by design, they will then be our saviors. I mean, it seems to me All we've got to do is tell the truth and get the story out of how this is a pack of criminals, larcenous criminals that destroyed our economy by design to build their new world order, and that we should take the states back, take the federal government back, and arrest all these criminals. I mean, we can do that if we just start believing we can and get the word out about it.
Amen. Boy, I'll tell you, that's why I'm on here, and that's why I'm on 20 programs a week, and I keep it up just like you do. And believe me, Alex, we are making inroads. I'm getting letters all the time, not only from Americans who are subscribers, but people all over the world.
Well, you got powerful info, Bob. You're on target, and that's what matters. That's why it's great to have you here. We're going to come back, get into your phone calls, your questions for Bob Chapman or myself, or your statements when we come back. 1-800-259-9231. Stay with us. Okay, let's go back to Bob Chapman. Let's talk to Steve in New York. Steve, you're on the air with Bob Chapman.
Hi, I'm Steve. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Long-time listener. What I'm calling for today is actually I want to introduce myself. I work at a well-known company that I know you guys are very familiar with, and I've witnessed for myself. I think it's about the trade deals, not free trade, but trade deals that are made different parts of the world, and that has a big effect on someone like me, who's a guy just trying to make a living. I have a story to tell, and I'm calling the show because I want to, gain some trust and tell my story.
Well, it's about control. It's about control, and that's what globalism and trade is. It's about wiping out trade in areas they want to consolidate, building up trade in areas they control, playing nations off against each other to bring in this world empire. They use finance and military to control, not just military. But we got a lot of callers, Steve, and we've opened the phones up for calls for Bob Chapman on the economy. But just give us a summation of your story.
Well, I really can't get into it on air. It's gonna get bigger, and but what I can say is that what they're doing to people, native-born people here, to get rid of them is just as underhanded as can be.
Yeah, I mean, the globalists are completely ruthless. The public needs to figure that out.
And it is ruthless, and it's really a violation of rights and liberty. And I work in a company town, and it's all control. And I would like to get more details off air and get into it a little more. But I do have to proceed with caution at this point. All right,
then, on air is not the place to do it, Steve. We appreciate your call. You can send us an email or send Bob something. We're just so busy. We know about the corruption. It's not a newsflash to us. We know they bring in foreigners, order you to train them, and then fire you, and then use the immigrants to do your job. And people say, well, who will buy the products once there's no economy here? The globalists then will shut that down. They use trade as a weapon to consolidate power. They don't want a free market. They don't want you independent. Bob, can you explain this to people?
Well, I do, and you very succinctly just did so. And it's the ripping of the heart of the American economy out, and it just retching it from the body of our country so that people can't get jobs. And they don't care whether anybody buys anything, because the end result is what they're looking for. In the process, they're making lots of money, and especially for the transnational corporations who have subsidiaries that do this business outside the country in places like Cayman Islands and the Bahamas and so on. And they're hiding their money offshore. And as you know, 4 years ago, our Congress allowed them to bring back $350 billion at 5.25% taxation instead of 33%. And now they want to do it again for $550 billion.
Yeah, let's explain to folks, because I've analyzed these cases, but you're really an expert on this. I want to get your response. When we hear about them doing CBS News pieces about the Cayman Islands and how 200 and something billion of the bailout money went to the Caymans alone, They're just getting everybody mad so they can shut down small tax shelters because that became retail and the public started using the loopholes the banks had written for themselves. Just like most of the White House doesn't pay taxes, most of the Congress doesn't pay taxes, more and more of it comes out. They have one set of rules, and then we have another set of rules that we live under. And if you look at it, most multinational corporations pay less than 1% tax.
That's right. And that's part of the way that they do that. And, of course, that embellishes the want of these international corporations to do such things, because in the process they get richer and more powerful. And, of course, at the same time, they destroy the infrastructure of not only the United States, but Mexico, Canada, and Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple.
All of those demonstrations over there are about money and income and jobs, and they're getting worse and worse. I had pictures that people sent me this week of a major protest in Grenoble. And in this protest, they were wearing Jacobin outfits. And for those of you who don't know, the Jacobins were the people during the revolution in France that went around and collected people so they could bring them to the guillotines to cut their heads off.